Good morning, everybody. Mike Wright, Edge Home Finance. Happy Wednesday. Glad to be with you another hump day, and I'm excited to have an experienced realtor, but probably more importantly, a friend from elementary school, mind you, Steve Jecha from EXP. Thank you very much for being our Realtor of the Week, buddy.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me here today. So
Yeah, I'm excited. So, like I said, Steve and I have known one another a long time. And, the cool thing about this business as the world turns is you get to keep these friendships, right? And to me, mortgage, realtor is about friendships. It's, there's business, but you got to enjoy who you're dealing with and know that that person's as professional as you are. And Steve fits the mode.
Well, thank you, Mike.
Yeah, man. So how did you get into this world of real estate?
Well, I was always an entrepreneur, and I started in corporate America right after college, and I just didn't like corporate America that much, and bought my own printing companies, and I had printing businesses for half a dozen or more years, and then circuit board business, a .com printing business, a bunch of entrepreneurial things. And I always was managing employees and always worried about, payroll each week and stuff like that, the things that keep entrepreneurs up at night. And when I looked around at a business in the early 2000s after I was selling everything off, real estate was the perfect business. Yep.
Well, and you're connected enough through all these prior businesses and friends, etc., and you live in Edina. He's born and raised in Edina, and has been one of these rooted in Edina cake eaters, which I like. That's a good man.
I lived in Minneapolis for 25 years.
Oh, did you? Okay, well, there's a little gap that I missed, so it's just a small gap, 25 years.
I've just come back to the bubble now.
That's right. We go back to the roots. So obviously, with doing this, what has been the challenges with real estate? I mean, obviously, the transition always changes, even as of recently.
Yeah, I think every day it's lead generation and bringing things is always an issue in real estate. I think for all agents out there, and that goes up and down from time to time. But that's been a challenge. Another challenge is my style of doing business, trying to find somebody similar to me to partner with, not as a team necessarily, but more as I cover your back and you cover my back on deals and stuff like that. So that when I like to travel a lot, and so it's always helpful to have somebody backing me up.
So you're what you're looking for kind of is not a true team per se, but somebody that is willing to, when you're gone, or when that person's gone, you're willing to help them fill in, and vice versa.
Exactly.
And so you got to keep in mind, Steve vacations about 6 months out of the year, but I mean, you're going to make some money, But but with that, how do you market? You know what I mean? I mean, you've been in this business, and I know your personality is with Bandy, big Bandy fan.
Yeah.
How do you market, man?
I would say 80% of my business is sphere of influence business, and it really comes from years of being out there running my businesses and people I know from there, going all the way back to grade school. I'm helping a client out right now who goes all the way back to our days in
Creek Valley.
Valley View Junior High.
Yeah. I like it.
But and so it goes back to there. I ran Minneapolis hockey for about 15 to 20 years as a president for part of that and as the executive director. And so, with 800 kids, I got to know a lot of parents in there. And I do every other year, I do a trip to Sweden where I take kids over to Sweden and their parents come along on the trip. And it's a great way to network. I've gotten a lot of GCI out of those trips. And I'll be taking this fall 75 people, including probably 35 kids, and then parents to fill out the trip. But that's kind of how I've marketed over the years, is just getting out there and meeting people. I do play the sport called bandy, which is kind of an offshoot of hockey. Mm-hmm. and been very involved there also. And so I get business from people in the bandy world that call me up here in the Twin Cities and say, help me out. So,
But what's beautiful about that is you don't modify your life, right? You do what you like to do.
yes.
And you just you get involved and you're engaged in. I mean, that Minneapolis hockey had to be a big feat.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. During the time I was there, we grew from like 400 to 800 kids playing in the program. So
Yeah.
it was, we were the fastest growing program in the state. And I can pat myself on the back there. I was, heavily involved in making that happen. And, but as I say, it allowed me to meet all sorts of different people, and a lot of business came out of that, and still does today.
Well, and I think that's we always talk about life balance, and I get kind of caught up in that term, right? It's like, what is life balance? But what Steve seems to have succeeded at is coaching, being the president of an association, and turning that into business.
Yes.
Because, I mean, small chat's small chat. You're hanging around people a lot, and you don't mind wearing an EXP hat and, promoting the fact of what you do.
Right, and I don't do any hard sell, in my business, because I have relationships and people have gotten to know me over time. The phone will ring, and I just had a guy the other day, played bandy with him 20 years ago, and he retired 20 years ago, probably when I should have retired from from playing the game. But my phone rang, and it was him. He goes, "Hey, I know you're in real estate, and it's been a while since we've talked, but I still remember you from bandy." And we went out and put a purchase agreement down on a property. So
nice. I think that is so cool because like I said, we all do these different things. Like there's so many people that I've learned through these interviews, whether it's buying leads, whether it's cold calling, whether it's whatever it is. And I'm not sure if all of them love doing it, right? You love what you do. And because you're trusted with their kids and you're good with the kids, parents naturally fall to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, because you had talked about, I know at one point you were doing some video, some postcards. What have you worked on that has been consistent, persistent, or you said, to hell with it, it ain't working?
I do some YouTube video, but I want to do a lot more into this year. Yeah, I've always had as a goal to expand more outside of my sphere of influence, which, as I say, is probably 70-80% of my business. And I think YouTube videos are a way to do that. And so I'm going to be pushing this year into more YouTube videos. Outside of that, I've tried to keep up on technology. I do my own 3D tours of properties.
Nice.
With the Astor Room product. If anybody knows what the Astor, it's like a Matterport. I'd call it a poor man's Matterport.
Yeah.
But you can go in there with your cell phone and set it up and go right through a house and create a 3D walkthrough of a house. So I've picked that up on my listings as just something extra when I sit down with a client talking about what I can do for their listing. It's that, and I've done a lot of videos of properties over the years. People can look my name up and see some of the videos, but a lot of videos showing off the properties and having fun with it.
Checks.
Yeah,
that's what you got to look under,
Yeah.
But that's a play on your name, and but I think that the creativity that you have done, right? You've taken upon yourself to say, I don't have to spend $1 million to succeed.
Correct.
But you still have to market. I know you work your tail off, and that's can be both play and fun, etc.
Yeah.
But what are you seeing in the market? I mean, obviously we've got this whole quote unquote settlement, lawsuit going on where people have to know their value.
Yeah.
You seem pretty confident when you're in front of a buyer or you're in front of a seller that your message is pretty clear.
Yeah. Probably 70% of my business is listings. And so, I'm not as concerned about the buyer thing that they've talked about, but.
No, it's low enough, so I don't want to ever hear that again, but I'm just saying, but no.
But the whole settlement thing, business has been done this way in Washington State and in other places in the country, and everything I'm hearing is you just need to go into a contract right out of the get-go with your buyer and explain the situation to your buyer, and then it becomes part of the negotiation when you're dealing with the listing property. So
well, and you're so good at the education end, right? And it's your reputation has superseded itself with these people, like you said, oftentimes friends, to be able to explain this to them.
Right.
I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, shocking by the media, but you take the time to explain that, and it comforts them because you know what the hell you're talking about. And I think that's the key to all the stuff. Understand these things. It's not earth-shattering. We're going to be fine. But you taking the time to explain that is a big deal to you.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Right. And, what I find is, that's going to come up in discussions here over the next 6 months, and then I think it's going to go away. Because it really, from what I see of the settlement, is realtors just can't put in the buyer broker commission into the MLS is really the main thing. It doesn't mean buyer commissions are going to go away. It's just things are going to be structured differently than how they've been done in the past. And
well, and I take it a little bit that client first over commission is critical. Right. I think where we got into this mess was the whole, I didn't make this commission. I'm not going to show home at 2.5, but I will at 2.7. And, client first. And I think that's why you're getting the referrals that you get. And that's why you're getting all these friends and repeat clients.
Right. Yeah. And, and I can say a main part of my business is just, honesty, integrity, and managing expectations. And, when something's potentially going off the rails, I forewarn my clients of that, and I try to be out in front of it. And in doing that, if it does go off the rails, we've already talked about how we'll handle it. And so the expectations have been managed. And I learned that back when I had my corporation. I had a CFO in my corporation, another friend from our childhood that you would know.
Yeah.
And he said, I just, with the bankers and stuff like that, I just want to manage expectations so they don't get surprised by anything. And I took a lesson from that is with clients, you always just want to manage expectations.
Well, it's a huge number, right? Yeah. I mean, it's 200, 500 million, whatever the number is, it's a big number for people. Yeah. And it's a process that can get very, very intense. Inspections, final walkthroughs, appraisals, title, closings, right? Now there's hybrid closings where people are signing half the documents prior to closing. So now they wet sign only the mortgage note and the closing disclosure. All this stuff changes constantly, right?
Right.
And it's our responsibilities to explain this stuff to them and calmly, right? Because you're the face of the whole operation. You get a bunch of moving pieces. You and I get along so well because you know that I'll handle my end.
Right.
But that's the same with your title contact. And, and it's a title contact from a former company that he used to work for, but they have such a good partnership that they work with one another still, which I think is phenomenal.
Yeah, and I still go into the office and that I used to be at, and I could say hi to the people, and they remember me years after I've left there. But no bridges have been burned. From leaving that brokerage, I just wanted to try something new.
So let me ask you a question. That brings up a tremendous point. Realtors to realtors, right? You get sometimes where you go to call for a showing and the listing agent won't call you back or doesn't respond. You're a firm believer that you got to be careful of burning bridges because even though there's a lot of realtors in the Twin Cities, it's still pretty small business, isn't it?
Right. And it's always good, to provide feedback. A lot of realtors show and don't provide feedback, and it's important to provide feedback. Anybody that lists properties know your clients are like, well, what happened with this guy, or what happened with this showing? And it's like, well, I can't get the realtor to tell me one way or the other what's going on. Just fill out the form and say your client's not interested, or your client's interested, and we can have a discussion. But
I think it helps every single one of you guys out there list properties, and you represent buyers, and you want the feedback, right? So, to me, it's about a 3-minute process to help the industry, to help your reputations, right?
Right.
That's all we got to bank on, right? And so it just makes us all as a whole look better, because our businesses where, we got to be trusted, right? And we've lost credibility at times.
Yeah.
And the lawsuit doesn't help. And I think that this is where we can pivot and protect one another, help one another, make the industry better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do you see your business going? You and I are of the same age. Do you got another 30, 40 years ahead of you in real estate?
I don't see necessarily retiring from real estate. It really is. How many realtors really retire from real estate?
That's what they say with LOs. We just go out to pasture, So
I don't see a retirement or anything like that. I see always doing business
the same way you do it.
The same way I do it, and I have a network that's been built, and there's nothing holding me back outside of my travels. If I want to travel or go someplace, that makes it a little harder sometimes to service clients. But today, as I tell clients when I sit down with them, I've done deals from Sweden, I've done deals from Mexico. With the phone and with the internet today, you pretty much can do business anywhere.
And keep in mind, he has been married a long time, and is, what do you call her? You're
the fetching Mrs. Jecha.
Yes, Mrs. keeps him in line, So
absolutely,
we all need that, right?
We all need that.
And yes. You got, and so you've done very, very well. And I think that is the arena that both of us are in, is that we're not going away. Yeah. You got to constantly keep up with the art. And I take art as a marketing deal, but you haven't fallen into the team mode. What, individual versus team, what's kept you from being on a team?
I looked at, several, 4 or 5 years ago, I kind of looked at teams. I was kicking around, and I ended up at EXP because I kind of fly solo. And I looked at a team, and, I would be bringing in my network of people, and the commission splits was knocked down to 50 or 60%. And I was like, I'd have to do a lot of business off of leads that team brought to me in order to make up for
the difference in the commission. Yeah. And I think there's tremendous value. I have interviewed a lot of team leads, and I think there's a tremendous value in that. But I've got great friends that are realtors down in Florida, and sometimes the steps you have to take as part of the team to be a team, it's for some people and it's not for some people. Yeah. You've been successful being you, man.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that is, I'm going to be excited to, have you thought about what the YouTube name's going to be? I know Jake has got a couple of his good friends with the Pod Gods, and
Jex TV, which is
Jex TV.
JEX. Jex is my nickname, and so Jex TV will be the. And I've done some videos in the past under the Jex TV thing. I just haven't rolled it out where. I'm looking at doing neighborhood type of video where things that are more lead generational, where you go to a neighborhood in Edina or in Southwest Minneapolis, and you kind of do a walk down the streets or the local watering hole or whatever's there. and basically put that up so that people that are looking to move into those communities or move from outside the state, they go to they do a Google search and that pops up and they watch the video type of thing. So that's kind of what I'm going to build through the rest of this year and see where it goes, and hopefully that creates another avenue of business outside of my sphere of influence.
I've seen a few of your videos, and you do a hell of a job. And I think it always comes down to what kind of the basis of all real estate and or mortgages: consistent, persistent, and just be patient.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you keep up with it, traction naturally happens. And I know that, Jake, who all of you know, has been very instrumental in keeping me on this every single week. And I learned so much from you guys. It's so cool to be able to have the opportunity to do this for you, because you do something different than all these other people do.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you coming on tremendously, my friend. It's always, I always love catching up with an old buddy. And, not only is it work, it's fun, and we laugh. And, we've had a lot of mutual clients. Some work, some don't work, you know. And
we get on the phone and we're like, oh, how do we solve this problem? Or what do we do? And
that's
and
the name of the
we've
game.
solved a few over time that...
I've never had any problems. Who are you talking to in here?
Well, I remember one where we had, my client had done the internet. In that instance, they had done the internet pre-approval from some company out of like North Carolina, and it was going to blow our deal up. The people wanted to do business with it, but they're like, we don't know about this lender. And I think the deal would have blown up with that lender. And I called you up and said, hey, it was a Saturday.
Yep.
And at 5 o'clock or 6, I was up at my lake place, and I was like, hey, can you help bail me out here? We got to get a pre-approval tonight.
Yeah. But I think that's partnerships, right? And
absolutely.
I don't know if I can even use the term partnerships, but I think that's friendships, to where that's what we do, right? And I think that so often I compete with people that are out of California in the cube. I can't mention, other lenders' names, but, they're big names. Their pricing is, here's this bait price, and maybe it's the price, maybe it isn't, but they're in a cube, and you ain't going to get a hold of them over the weekend, evenings. It ain't going to work. So I take great pride in being around, but that worked out great.
It was a Saturday night. I mean, you came through big for me there. So, you're the GOAT.
I appreciate you, buddy. I appreciate you tremendously. But I really appreciate you, Steve, coming on. I've got tremendous amount of respect for you. Now, goalie? Are you a goalie still?
In bandy? Or?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I skate out, but every once in a while when I go in, our goalie doesn't show up. No, actually, I skated out in hockey too. Yeah, I was always an out skater, but... in bandy, I just, as I was getting older and I was playing in tournaments overseas, the guys were getting too fast. Yeah. And I was like, maybe if I play goalie, I can extend my career for a few more tournaments. And so...
so splits? Can you still do the splits?
No.
Steve, you're the best, my friend.
Thanks, Mike.
This is the fun you have in doing business, and I appreciate you coming on as a Realtor of the Week.
Thanks for having me,
my friend. And you guys, thank you very much for being here. I know the Realtor Connect is growing fast, but it's because you guys ask a Realtor or two to join, and that I appreciate beyond. We've, like I said, it's a Realtor Connect on Facebook. We've also got on YouTube and Instagram, Realtor of the Week. Just Google it. It'll pop up. We appreciate your follows and likes. Thank you very much, and have a happy Wednesday.